This American man was tricked into coming to Thailand for a high-paying job. But as soon as he got off the plane, a horrifying scene happened. He saw the shops on the side of the road closed in panic. Hundreds of thugs with weapons were approaching him. He turned around and saw a large group of Special Forces police also appearing on the other side of the road. He was caught in the middle of them. At that moment, the man did not know what to do. The group of thugs attacked first and then tried to throw a petrol bomb. Immediately, the police shot him dead on the spot. In the chaos, the man quickly hid behind the Special Forces police, but these reckless thugs quickly defeated the group of Special Forces police by throwing rocks and using sticks in their hands. I wonder if these Special Forces police really did not intentionally let the thugs go. Seeing that the situation was not good, the man had no choice but to risk his life and run towards the hotel. But on the way, thugs occasionally appeared. Whenever they saw foreigners, they were caught. The man had a hard time running to the hotel, but the door down. The hotel was blocked by thugs and died in the middle of the crowd. Another person was arrested. He shouted that he was an American. This man thought that if he just said he was an American, the thugs would let him go. Who would have thought that the thugs who wanted to kill him were Americans? At this time, the man was stunned. Americans coming to Southeast Asia were no longer safe. Seeing that the thugs had not discovered him, the man hurriedly ran away, but was immediately seen by a thug in a critical moment. The man hurriedly pulled down the fire ladder and climbed to the upper floor of the hotel. The thugs chased after him closely. Luckily, the man used all his strength to kick down the thang bridge, so he was lucky to escape. The man quickly went to the hotel lobby and wanted to ask clearly what was going on. But at this time, the hotel staff was trying to fight off the thugs outside and kindly reminded the man to go back to his room and not go out. However, as soon as the man ran to the second floor, the thugs broke the door and rushed in. Immediately, gunshots rang out. The thugs began to kill people indiscriminately. Seeing that, the man hurriedly ran into the elevator. Hearing gunshots and screams outside, the man panicked and continuously pressed the button on the 8th floor where he was staying, but the elevator did not move. At this time, the man was so scared that he was about to pee his pants. Only then did he remember that he had to use his room card to start the elevator. When the elevator door closed, the man calmed down a bit and returned to his room. At this time, his wife had changed into a swimsuit and was about to take her 2 daughters swimming. The man hurriedly pulled his wife to the window and recounted everything he had just experienced. But while talking, the man just discovered that his eldest daughter was not in the room at this time. The younger daughter told her mother that her older sister had gone to the swimming pool by herself first. Hearing that, the man panicked. After telling his wife to lock the door, "Be careful," he immediately ran to the swimming pool on the 4th floor, but the thugs had already killed him and were breaking into each room. The man was helpless. He had to turn back and go down another fire escape. But as soon as he reached the 4th floor, he heard the thugs' noises from the direction of the swimming pool. Thinking that his eldest daughter might have met with something bad, the man was heartbroken. He quickly went through the hotel kitchen and finally reached the swimming pool. Luckily, his eldest daughter had always been underwater, so the thugs did not discover her. Just as the man was about to pull his eldest daughter to shore, a thug happened to see this scene. The man hurriedly used a swimming ring to block the door and hugged his eldest daughter. He ran away, but the thugs outside quickly broke the glass door. At this time, the man had run to the fire exit, and the thugs ran away. The thugs were still chasing closely. Suddenly, another thug appeared in front. Fortunately, a kind person came to the rescue and told the man to run to the terrace. At the same time, the wife heard a noise outside the door. After telling her little daughter to hide in the bathroom, she gently approached the door to check. Unexpectedly, through the peephole, she witnessed the thugs killing the guest in the opposite room. The next room was hers. The woman was stunned in fear. In desperation, the doorknob began to be twisted hard. She didn't dare to make a sound. She could only use her whole body to block the door. At this time, the woman felt extremely desperate. She didn't expect her daughter to come out of the bathroom. Luckily, after knocking on the door a few times, the thugs didn't make any more movements. However, to be on the safe side, she still pushed the sofa to block the door. Luckily, right after that, she heard her husband's voice, so the woman opened the door. The husband immediately expressed his intention to run to the terrace, but was immediately refused by his wife. The wife thought that the thugs had just arrived, so she stayed. In the room is safest, but in the end, she still couldn't shake her husband and had to lead the whole family out of the room. But while running away, the little girl dropped her toy and kept screaming to pick it up. As a result, the thugs heard it immediately. Luckily, the thugs didn't shoot accurately, so the man was lucky to escape quickly. They ran to the emergency exit, passed through each room, and finally reached the rooftop. But who would have thought that the rooftop door was locked tightly? God, the people outside were also loudly refusing to open the door. Luckily, the man said he was an American. The people outside only opened the door after the man's whole family arrived. These people hurriedly used sticks to block the door, but could those simple wooden bars withstand the pursuit of the thugs? However, seeing many survivors gathered here, the man's tense nerves gradually relaxed. But soon, the man heard the thugs protesting below the hotel and also learned from other survivors that the Prime Minister had been assassinated last night. Now, the country was in a state of anarchy. The reason why there was a riot, and the reason why they especially hated Americans, was because the American forces intervened too deeply in this country. They controlled the local vital projects, such as water plants and power plants, to seize property and exploit the people. They even wanted to enslave the people completely and to protect their homeland from becoming puppets and not being dogs of the Americans. These thugs killed Americans to express their dissatisfaction, and this man was the engineer of the new water plant who was sent right after everything was cleared up. A helicopter flew from afar. At this time, the survivors raised their hands and cheered, thinking they had been saved. However, as soon as the helicopter turned around, everyone was in despair. In an instant, the survivors fell one by one. The man took his wife and children to hide in a blind spot, but immediately after that, the helicopter began to rotate around the building and launched a series of shots before realizing that his position had been discovered. Luckily, at this time, the tail rotor of the helicopter was caught in a wire. The electricity made it lose control immediately. The billboard fell to the ground. The helicopter also rushed towards them. Luckily there was a pillar blocking it, the whole family of the man survived. But just after going through the horror, the thugs rushed up at this time. The whole family of the man had now way to run so to survive. The man recklessly came up with a bold idea, which was to let his wife get out of the building next door. But looking at the distance and height, like that the woman was extremely scared. Listen, we have no other choice. Otherwise, everyone will die. Here, I beg you jump over the at least there is still a chance to survive. What should I do? You jump first? Then I will throw the children over, then I will follow, okay? Because the children are the last the woman had to risk trying. However, as soon as she jumped up, the woman stumbled, almost falling down at this time. The thugs had killed the people who were barely alive and started pushing the billboard, blocking the way towards the man. And at this time, the woman also gathered all her courage. Luckily, she jumped over, but only suffered minor scratches. Then, the man picked up the little girl and coaxed her to close her eyes. When the little girl wasn't paying attention, he threw her over. Luckily, the wife used her body as a cushion, so the little girl wasn't injured. The thugs had already taken down all the billboards. Luckily, there were still a few survivors who attracted their attention. The man had a little more time to escape. At this time, the man signaled for the older daughter to jump over, but unexpectedly, the little girl was scared and ran away. She had to jump over, otherwise those people would harm her. She did it, but as soon as she was thrown over, the older daughter clung tightly to her father's arm, causing both of them to almost fall down. Seeing her daughter hanging in the air, the wife was scared to death. Luckily, a kind person helped them, so they were able to pull their older daughter up. Hearing gunshots not far away, the man hurriedly untied his belt and tied his older daughter up, then quickly threw her over again. The man also successfully jumped over, but the kind person just helped them. We're not so lucky at this time. The thugs also discovered the man. Luckily, they did not chase. However, they took out a poster. On the poster was a photo of the man when he worked at the water plant. It seemed the man had been hit identification. Then man followed the pillar down after confirming there were no thugs inside. Then he felt secure to let his wife and children climb down. Then they hid in the office building and began to comfort and encourage each other. But less than 10 minutes later downstairs, there was a loud noise. The man hurriedly went to the window to check the situation. He discovered the thugs. Not only did they send tanks, they also pointed the cannons at the building. The frightened man hurriedly led his family to escape, but after running a few steps, the building was bombarded by tanks. The wall collapsed immediately. The man's whole family was thrown to the ground by the shockwave and saw everyone running in panic. The man hurriedly hid his wife and children under the rubble. He then pulled a door to block the entrance to the rubble. In no time, the thugs rushed in and saw the people outside being brutally slaughtered. The woman worriedly covered her daughter's eyes. A moment later, the people outside were all killed. At this time, a thug walked to the front of the rubble. The man thought he was about to be exposed. Luckily, after poking at the door blocking the rubble, he left the scene. However, to ensure safety, the man did not rush out. Even when he had to pee, he did it in his pocket. They waited until the sky was tea before daring to crawl out of the rubble. They divided the work among themselves. The man was in charge of searching the clothes on the people, died to disguise as a local to the embassy to ask for help from the woman in charge. Find the map, but when they were looking at the location of the embassy, suddenly a strange noise rang out in the office. It turned out that there was a thug stealing things. He also happened to see the man's family. The man had not yet stopped him when he loudly called his accomplices in a dangerous moment. The man had to rush in to control the thug and cover his mouth after the thug nodded in agreement that he would not scream. The man was reassured. Let go. He suspected that this slippery guy would continue to scream helplessly. The man had to control the thug again, picked up an item and sent him on his way right after that. The man had finished disguising himself and went downstairs, used the key he got from the thug to start the motorbike, and quickly drove his family to the embassy on the way. There were corpses everywhere. Many buildings were destroyed. Luckily, instead of wearing local clothes, they were not discovered. But when they were only one street ahead of the embassy, they appeared again. At this moment, a crowd of thugs were mocking the man, who was frozen in place. He understood that he could not turn around at this moment. Otherwise, he would be discovered by the thugs immediately, so he could only bow his head as much as possible and recklessly walk forward. Luckily, the thugs did not recognize them. But unfortunately, the motorbike was hit by the thugs. The man had to get off the motorbike to get it up. At this time, a thug also helped, but as soon as the motorbike was lifted up, the two looked straight at each other. The thug immediately recognized the man, and the man felt a chill down his spine. It seemed like everything was over. Fortunately, instead of feeling sorry for the children, the thug did not expose them. The man's family quickly escaped. They reached the gate of the embassy, but the embassy was completely surrounded. It was still terrifyingly quiet inside. So to ensure safety, the man sneaked in first. He saw corpses scattered on the ground. It seemed that the embassy had also been attacked by thugs. The man intended to enter the building to check, but as soon as he got closer, a crowd of thugs came out. The man did not have time to escape and was immediately discovered by the thugs. Next, the embassy was bombed. The man hurriedly ran out. He then led his wife and children to flee through the alleys, but facing thugs who were familiar with the terrain, running around like that was not the way. So the man had to break down the door of a temple after a while of begging. Finally, he found a hiding place. However, after searching outside without results, the thugs quickly guessed everything. The person in the temple, the monk wanted to stop him, but was immediately pushed to the ground. At this time, a thug placed the gun next to the wall, while the other thugs went to search other places in the temple. The man intended to secretly steal the gun, but unexpectedly stepped on a dry branch under his feet. The noise immediately alerted the nearby thug. Seeing that the man was about to be exposed, the wife on the other side took the initiative to step out. The man saw that his wife was arrested and had to risk his life. He picked up a rock and threw it at the thug in front of him. Then he snatched the gun from his hand, but when he squeezed it, he discovered that there were no bullets in the gun. Just like that, the man was also controlled by the thugs. After that, the leader of the thugs tore the woman's shirt and tried to play a trick in front of the man. The man could only scream in despair. Luckily, at this time, an old American man was escorted out. I can get guns? A lot of guns. All kinds of guns that you like. While the thugs were off guard, the old man and his accomplices quickly coordinated. Immediately shot down all the thugs present, then the old man took the man's family to the rooftop of an abandoned house after a day and a night of running away. Finally, they could rest a little, replenish their energy immediately. After that, the old man showed the man the river not far away, told him that just follow the river a few kilometers to reach Vietnamese territory. By then, the thugs would not dare to chase anymore, and they would be completely safe for the man's. Thanks, the old man said again it was his job and confessed that he was a CIA agent, currently this. Placed with son of their basis, they came here to protect talents like the man. And after careful investigation, it was not difficult to realize that America was actually secretly deploying forces in Thailand. Their power was infiltrating every field. However, initially the so-called enslavement of the people of this country was not fabricated by the thugs. It was clearly America's intention to manipulate politics. However, the local people rose up to fight back. Their actions were really hooliganism, but this riot was really beyond the US's expectations, because nent their arrogant perception these locals seemed to still be ignorant. Then the whole family of the man fell asleep peacefully. But when the man opened his eyes again, he saw the old man bending down to check something. The man was about to ask, when suddenly from afar there was a gunshot. The man hurriedly hugged his child and hid behind the wall at this time. The old man also saw the location of the thugs, so he both attracted fire and let this accomplices stake the family of the man to escape, but while running. When he reached the stairs, the old man's accomplice was shot dead. At this time, the thugs pointed their guns at the man's family. Luckily, the old man managed to shoot him down in time, but he was also shot in the stomach. However, in the end, the old man still tried to stand up and take down the second thug. Then, the old man staggered out into the street, knowing that he could not survive and did not want to implicate the man's family. He had to pretend to be dead and lie on the ground. After the man's family ran away, he tried his best to get up and destroy the thugs who drove after the man's family quickly. The man took his wife and children to the riverbank and saw 2 thugs walking towards him. The man had to pick up rocks on the ground and prepare to wait for the right moment to act. Luckily, the 2 thugs were so engrossed in their conversation that they did not notice them. After that, the man hid his wife and children under the house and went to the riverbank alone to find a boat. But the noise quickly attracted the attention of the boat owner. The man begged the boat driver to shout and at the same time took out a gold watch to exchange for the boat. But who would have thought that the boatman who didn't know the goods liked the man's shoes? Right when the 2 were making a deal, the thugs came and in a moment of danger, the boatman had to hide the man in the boat. But the man's shoes revealed everything, so the man was quickly dragged out. The man was about to fight back, but how could he alone fight against Damdong? Immediately after that, the man was forced to kneel on the ground, but as soon as the thug was about to pull the trigger, the eldest daughter hiding in the dark couldn't take it anymore. She risked running out. The thugs were also distracted by the bullet that hit the man's shoulder. Immediately after that, the thugs grabbed the eldest daughter and put the gun in her hand, forcing her to shoot her father dead. But how could the eldest daughter pull the grass? Seeing the eldest daughter not listening, the thug pointed the gun at her head. This scene completely broke the man. Therefore, in order to protect the eldest daughter's life, he began to comfort her constantly and told her to bravely pull the trigger. But how could the eldest daughter kill her father to live? Seeing the thug about to attack the eldest daughter, the woman suddenly rushed from behind and used a stick to hit him. The man hurriedly snatched the gun from the eldest daughter's hand with 2 quick shots, sending the 2 thugs on their way. After the woman vented her anger on the thug, the whole family hurriedly got on a small boat and rowed the boat at full speed towards the Vietnamese border. But when they were about to reach Vietnamese territory, the thugs chased after them. The Vietnamese army in front also discovered that they only heard 1 gunshot. The Vietnamese army simultaneously pointed their guns at the man's family because the man's family did not have a permit. So the Vietnamese side could only force them to turn back. The man raised his hands high and looked at the thugs who were harassing him behind him. He had no choice but to risk his life. Despite the army's warnings, he continued to move forward. Luckily, as soon as they entered Vietnamese territory, the army immediately stopped the thugs from shooting, then pointed their guns at them, declaring that the family fracked them. The man's family has come to the Sea of Vietnam. If the gangsters dare to shoot, they will consider it an act of war. Hearing that, the gangsters had to give up the pursuit. Finally, let's talk a little about this movie. The gangsters think that it's all the Americans' fault. So why did the gangsters' helicopter shoot indiscriminately on the hotel rooftop, killing even the local people who served them? It must be known that the resentment of the people usually silently accumulates, but once it erupts, the destruction will be extremely large, proportional to the level of pent-up resentment. Although in the end, the main character's family survived among the corpses, in order to continue living, they must find a place to hide. That is also the only rule of survival in this movie. However, what makes No Escape so scary is that even though they have gone through countless difficulties to reach the American embassy, that place has fallen. The country has fallen into anarchy. The airport and railway are both paralyzed. Now the only place to hide is gone. That is really no place to hide. Escape the despair of the male lead's family makes the audience sweat. Even horror movies don't have such an effect, and there are more things that make people feel scared in the movie. For example, the scene where the thugs use tanks to bombard the office building. The building is moving, keeping the people who have no power to resist that powerful firepower. Or the scene where the male lead's family secretly climbs a boat towards Vietnam. Gradually, the border appears before their eyes. It is the boundary between life and death. But the thugs suddenly chase from behind. The Vietnamese army uses guns to order them to turn back. Life and death are just a hair's breadth away. What is the boundary between life and death? I think the national border is one of them. However, after the main character's family crossed the border, the Vietnamese army immediately changed the direction of the gun, making people feel relieved. After running away for so long, the feeling of being protected was wonderful. The value of a movie lies in its reputation, and the value of a movie review lies in the feeling. Today's story ends here. Thank you for watching the movie. What do you think of this movie? Please comment below.
بدد ليلى بالضياء الأمر والفرحة غامرت جمع البشر. بدد ليلى بالضياء الأمر والفرحة السعادة في كل بشر. زفت العود جمل النور ضياء واشرقت السعادة في كل الذكريات. جمعوناكم بالخير والهنا بالأحبار مليئة كل الصفاء. يا عروس يا بدر بالخير والهنا وضياك الشعر في كل مكان بكل الصفاء. يا عروس يا بدر زمن الفرح وجعل حياتكم في كل مكان نجاح. بارك الله في يوم الفرح وجعل حياتكم حبا ونجاح. صوت الحمد في الكون على وغيم السعادة بنا استضلى. أتت الليلة بأجمل الأماني وحلت البهجة في الواجد. أتت الليلة بأجمل الأماني وحلت البهجة في الواجد. هذا يوم السعادة والخير حياتنا أتى بقلوب تطير. أنا معمر زمالي بالخير حياتي أتى بقلوب تطير. بارك الله يا بدر في يوم الفرح وجعل حياتكم حبا ونجاح. بارك الله في يوم الفرح وجعل حياتكم حبا ونجاح. فرحة طول عمر تزدان القلوب بالودود. فرحة الحب طول عمر تزدان القلوب. نور الإيمان يضيء الدور. حب في حضرة الله كل شيء محبوب بالدفء والنور. الإيمان اجتماع هنا يضيء الدور. خطى الحبيب في حضرة الله كل شيء محبوب. يا زهرة بالدفء والسرور اجتماع هنا يا بالفرح. خطى الحبيب تبارك في المنى. يا زهرة الحب يا أجمل لنا في الدنيا للفرح مكان ونشأنا. اليوم عاد يسقيكم الحياة وبركة الرحمن تبقى النفحات. سر الحياة في قلبين مت، واجعلهم معا كالفلك في الاثنين. ربي بارك الحب بين العينين، واجعلهم معا كالفلك في الاثنين. بدد ليلة بالضياء أنظر، والفرحة غامرت جمع البشر. بدد ليلة بالضياء أنظر، وشرحت السعادة في كل بشر. زفت العود جمل النور ضياء، واشرقت السعادة في كل الذكريات. جمعونا لكم بالخير والهناء، بالأعمار مليئة كل الصفاء. يا عروس يا بدكم بالخير والهناء، ضياءك يشع في كل مكان بكل الصفاء. يا عروس يا بدر في زمن الفرح، واجعل حياتكم في كل مكان نجاح. بارك الله في يوم الفرح، واجعل حياتكم حبا ونجاح. صوت الحمد في الكون على، وغيم السعادة بنا استضلى. أتت الليلة بأجمل الأماني، وحلت البهجة في الوجد استضلى. أتت الليلة بأجمل الأماني، وحلت البهجة في الوجد أنعاد يوم السعادة والخير، حياتنا أتى بقلوب تطير. أنعاد عمر زمالي الخير، حياتنا أتى بقلوب تطير. بارك الله يا بدر في يوم الفرح، واجعل حياتكم حبا ونجاح. بارك الله في يوم الفرح، واجعل حياتكم حبا ونجاح.
فرحة طول عمر تزدان القلوب بالودود. فرحة الحب كان طول عمر تزدان القلوب. نور الإيمان يضيد الحب كان في حضرة الله كل شيء محبوب. بالدفء والنور الإيمان اجتماع هنا يضيد خطى الحبيب في حضرة الله كل شيء محبوب.